Good morning, church. I hope you're doing well. My name is Grace and I go to the 5 p.m. service. Today we're going to be looking at Matthew 6, verses 22 to 23 in Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Let's read. The eye is a lamp of the body. If your eyes are healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eyes are unhealthy, your whole body will be full of darkness. If then the light within you is darkness, how great is that darkness? So the context of these verses come just after Jesus talking about storing up treasures in heaven, that rather than focusing on the temporary things like money and idols that will fade, our eyes should be looking elsewhere to the promise of eternity, to the treasure of salvation that is stored up for us through the death and resurrection of Jesus, and then the works that we do to love others and to point others to Christ. Then just after this, Jesus talks about how we cannot serve two masters, that we cannot pursue both God and money. Often these verses are quoted as a standalone set of verses. So eye is taken to literally mean the body part, the eye, and it sounds like it's telling us that we should be discerning about what we choose to look at, that when we look at sinful things, we're filled with darkness. If we look at good things, we're filled with light. And that's absolutely wise. We should definitely be discerning about what we're choosing to let in. But the context of this passage, it's sandwiched between two sections on money, and it leads us to a different conclusion about where our affections are placed. You see, Jesus is actually using eye here as it's used in Matthew 20, in the parable of the workers of the vineyard. In this parable, the vineyard owner has been lavishly generous to those who worked 1 hour, and those who worked 12 are grumbling against the owner, even though they got paid the same amount. So the vineyard owner in verse 15 says, "Don't I have the right to do what I want with my own money? Or are you envious because I'm generous?" And that phrase, "Are you envious because I am generous?" is literally translated, "Is your eye bad because I am good?" Which is the same phrase that is used in our main verses. It's, "Is your heart stingy when I am generous?" So this eye is not actually a physical eye, but instead it's the seat of the heart. It's the moral compass. It's the mind's eye. The eye is a lamp. It is a metaphor for a candle that guides the operation of the rest of the body. So when our eye is healthy, we are singularly focused on and orientated towards God, and we love the things of God. So our body is full of light. We see our daily lives with clarity, and it means that we can choose to act wisely, and we can love others in light of the gospel. But when our eye is unhealthy, we are focused on two things. We are cross-eyed. We're following both God and money. And ultimately, if you're looking at two different things, you're not actually walking towards either of them very effectively. You're actually stumbling in neither direction. You're stumbling blindly in the dark. So in the parable of the workers of the vineyard, you could put it like John Piper puts it, that the unhealthy eye sees money and material reward as more to be desired. But the healthy eye sees a beautiful display of free, gracious, godlike generosity. If we are in this darkness, we are tossed to and fro by our competing desires. Our character is inconsistent. This double vision means that we are torn by our passions, and as one commentary puts it, we mistake the relative value of things, choose the worse, neglect the better, or flatter ourselves that we can have both. Again, I really like the way John Piper puts it. The light you think you see, the glitz and flash and skin and muscle of this world, is all darkness. You are sleepwalking through life. You are serving money as a slave without even knowing it because it has lulled you asleep. And if we are believing that this darkness is actually light, we are deceived by our love and treasure for money. I really like the way that Romans 1 verses 21 and 25 put it. "For although they knew God, they neither glorified him as God nor gave thanks to him. But their thinking became futile and their foolish hearts were darkened. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator." We are ultimately blind to God in a sinful condition because ultimately God doesn't leave any room for idols or second affections on the throne of our hearts. Jesus says in Luke 4:8, "Worship the Lord your God and serve him only. God alone will be glorified. God alone will have our affections." When something shares our affections, we cannot see this world as it truly is, as a perishing, fading flower, yet a moment to honor and glorify God in everything that we do. We miss our purpose to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. And instead, we foolishly see this world as an ever-elusive blur of money and idols that return to dust just as we do. So, we cannot be focused on two things. We cannot be focused on God while also trying to share our affections for money. If we focus on God and money, we stumble directionless and we're deceived. Instead, our hearts must be solely towards heaven, towards God, to see the world that we live in with clarity. So as we apply this, let's think about where our hearts are, where our affections are. Is our eye healthy, appreciating generosity and graciousness, seeing this world as a mission for God, anxious to love others and to live out the gospel? Or is it unhealthy? Is it covetous? Is it envious? Is it anxious to hoard and to seek our own glory? So pray and ask God, where are your heart's affections? Look at His word. Where are your heart's affections? And as we go out today, look at the things of God, focus on the things of God, and praise the things of God. Amen.